Happy Monday, everybody! Today I am here to film one of my favorite videos to film every year, and it's my reading wrap-up from the prior year as well as my new goals for the current year. So today I'm here to share with you guys my statistics from 2017 and to share my 2018 reading goals. So in case you've been living under a rock the past week and a half, we are actually in a new year. It is 2018. Which blows my mind because it feels like it should still be the 90s, but apparently not. I'm quite looking forward to this year. I'm hoping this year will be a good year. It's a big year. I turned 30 this year, which is still blowing my mind. I turned 30 in March, and I'm just like, don't know where the time has gone. But this year I am also hoping to kind of keep it low-key. I am staying off social media for the most part. I've really curbed my activity on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. I plan to make Instagram my main form of social media for this year, so I will leave my handle somewhere around here on the screen if you guys are curious to follow that. But I noticed last year social media really stressed me out and made me anxious, and I decided that I wanted to cut back because not only did it cause that in me, made me anxious and stressed, but it also really cut into my reading time. Like, it's just a time suck and I was getting addicted to it, and I don't want to be like that. I miss the days before social media, so I decided to significantly cut back. And so far so good. I'm like in the second week of this and I'm actually quite happy with the decision I made. So yeah, I'm hoping 2018 will be a good year. I really want to like just focus on reading and my family and my work and just make this a good year. So that is my goal. One of my personal goals, I should say, for 2018. So it's kind of an overview of some of my more personal goals, which also kind of affect my reading goals. Obviously, cutting back on social media and such will affect hopefully my reading in a positive way. But before I get into the rest of my 2018 goals and pertaining to reading in my channel, I'm going to finish wrapping up 2017 so you can just put a bow on it and move past last year. So without further ado, let's dive into my 2017 reading statistics. So in 2017, I ended up reading a total of 51 books, and I had one DNF, so kind of 52 because I did read part of one, but then I just stopped reading it because it was bad. And that book was Tremor of Forgery by Patricia Highsmith. I just was not enjoying it. So that was a thing. I ended up reading a total of 19,995 pages last year. That averages to about 55 pages a day, and it's down from 2016 where I read about 22,000 pages, and it's really a lot farther down from 2015 where I read about 32,000 pages. So my reading has kind of taken a dip the past few years, and I'm hoping to kind of make that go up in 2018. Not because I want to, you know, set the goal like I have to read all this stuff, but just because I miss reading, and I had a lot of distractions last year that I'm hoping I'm going to avoid for this year. And hopefully that number will be higher because I have so many books I want to read this year, and I'm determined to get to them. In 2017, 65% of what I read was fantasy, 22% was science fiction, 12% was nonfiction, and the last little bit was a classic that I didn't even finish. It was The Count of Monte Cristo, which was depressing because one of my goals for 2017 was to read one classic a month. Failed utterly. Failed. Completely failed on that goal. I'm hoping to rectify that in this year. I'm determined to read one classic a month, so hopefully it will happen. And in terms of book format, as in the format that the book itself was in, 37% was hardcover, 38% was trade paperback, 10% was mass market paperback, 4% was ebook, 4% was flexibound, 2% were ebooks, and the last 6% was graphic novels. In terms of the years published, the vast majority of the books I read were published between 2010 and 2016, 50%. 14% were published in 2017, so new releases. 2% was published before 1920, that would be Count of Monte Cristo, which I did not end up finishing, and I will be finishing this year because I was enjoying it. I just had to put it to the side for a while. 17% was published in the 80s, 2% was published in the 90s, and the last remaining 10% was published between 2000 and 2010. In terms of page count, most of the books that I read last year were between 400 and 500 pages, with 300 to 400 and 200 to 300 pages taking second and third place. So I actually didn't read too many chunkers because, like, to me 500 pages isn't on the high end of what I usually read. Most of the books I end up picking up are between like 600 and 1,000 pages because I'm a really big epic fantasy reader. But I don't know, my reading was all over the place last year. It really was. It was just like, there was no rhyme or reason to what I was reading, which I was kind of okay with because I ended up picking up a lot of books I wouldn't normally read, so that was a good thing. In terms of book status and where I acquired the book, about 41% were new books, as in books that I purchased this year. 10% were borrowed, which just means I borrowed it from a friend. 10% were ARCs, so books that I received from publishers. 29% were actually gifts, so books that I received as gifts from other people, and the remaining 10% were used books that I ended up purchasing myself. So I did also purchase these, but they did purchase some used, not in a new format. And in terms of the books and where I actually purchased them this year, most of them actually came from Powell's and Amazon, but I didn't keep a very good track of the books I was acquiring. I kind of think I stopped around June keeping track, and then I just lost track of all the books I had received or purchased from June to December. So I'm really hoping to be better about that this year and keeping track of like what books I am purchasing and how much, just to kind of get an idea of what I spend, etc. So yes, hoping to be more on top of that this year. In terms of the age group that the book was kind of geared towards, the vast majority of the books I read were actually for adults. 25% of what I read was YA, and the remaining was children's literature. In terms of how much I read each month, my best month by far in 2017 was April, with February taking second place and March taking third place. And then my reading kind of dipped a little bit after that. I just started feeling really slumpy and not reading as much and getting busy and feeling stressed out, etc., which affected my reading. Again, hoping to kind of fix that this year, hopefully. So yeah, it was, as I said, my reading was just all over the place last year. It was just like, woo, all over. And finally, in terms of star ratings, most of the books that I read last year were 4 stars. At like 43% of the books that I read were 4 stars. The other 20%, which takes second place here, was 3-star books. I had 13% which were 5-star books, and then the rest was split between, you know, 3.5, 2.5, 2-star books. Didn't really have any 1-star books. Like, there were some books that I really didn't like, but I didn't hate them so much that I felt like they deserved a 1-star, so there was that. But it wasn't my best reading year in terms of the books that I was reading. They were all pretty like just okay, because for me 4 stars is like, it's okay, it's not awesome, and it's not awful, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't have that many books that just completely blew me out of the water. And actually, in fact, one of the best books I read last year was one that I read and finished in December, and that was Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. That was probably my favorite book of the year. Absolutely love this book. It was phenomenal, and I cannot wait to get to the second one. I actually purchased it last week, so I'm hoping to pick it up in the next week or so, and I can't wait to do so. I heard it's amazing and it blows book 1 out of the water. And then in terms of my least favorite book from last year, I would have to say it's Dark Matter by Crouch, and I hated that book. I hated it. It was a pick from our book club. It was like a science fiction book. I hated everything about the book so much. I hated the main character. He was an idiot and he kept doing the same things over and over again. I thought the plot was stupid. It was like a ripoff of Doctor Who, and I just did not enjoy it at all. Was not a fan. So that was probably my least favorite book that I read. But I definitely had some good gems last year. I read some good nonfiction books, including Madam President, with the extraordinary journey of Ellen Sirleaf, who was president of Liberia until like this month, actually, or last month, which I thought was really good. It's not the typical type of book I read, because I don't really read biographies, but I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about a country that I didn't know much about, so that was pretty exciting. So I definitely had some gems last year, but it wasn't my best reading year in terms of how many books I read or in terms of the quality of the books I read. So again, I'm hoping 2018 will be a better reading year all around. So yeah, that about sums up my statistics for my reading year for 2017. I don't actually remember all of the goals that I set in 2017. I could probably go back and watch that video, but I'm lazy, so let's be real here. I do know I had the goal of reading classics, at least 1 classic a month, and then I did have a goal of reading more nonfiction, and I failed at the classics thing because I didn't even finish Count of Monte Cristo, and that was the only classic I picked up. But I would say I succeeded in terms of the nonfiction because I read 6 nonfiction books, which is the most nonfiction books I've ever read in a year since I was in college, so there is that. I also didn't get to a lot of the new releases I wanted to last year, so I do want to pay more attention to new releases that are exciting to me in 2018, particularly ones that I receive from publishers, and really make those more of a priority to read and review. And I did also have the intention of rereading several series last year that I do remember. I was gonna reread all of Tamara Pierce's works, and I got all the way through the first books in the Ilana series, and then I just didn't finish reading the rest. So I do want to continue on with rereading her works because she does have a new series starting soon. So I'm hoping that will happen this year. And then I had the intention of rereading all of Robin Hobb's books, and again I failed, did not reread them all because the last book came out, Assassin's Fate, and I wanted to reread all of her books. So I'm definitely doing that this year. I'm gonna be starting Assassin's Quest in the next couple of weeks and then going on through, because I've really been enjoying my reread. It's just been great being back in that world again. So that's gonna happen as well. But I don't know what other books I'm gonna reread. I also kind of like to keep my reading fluid and pick up what interests me in the moment. So hence the reason I don't really do a lot of TBRs. Sometimes I do, depends upon the month. Like Christmas, I'll try to have a Christmas themed TBR and get to my Christmas books. But for the most part, I like to keep my reading fluid. So in terms of my reading and channel goals for 2018, I have a little bit of a list here, which I think for the most part are pretty achievable. The first one is to upload 1 video a week to my channel, and you guys probably already noticed that the past couple of weeks. My goal is to upload a video every single Monday. Occasionally, if I'm feeling inspired with my content, I might put up another video on a Thursday, but for the most part, I'm keeping it at 1 video a week. I was doing about 3 videos a week last year, and it just got overwhelming, and I was super burned out, and I just couldn't do it again this year. And I feel like if I keep it to 1 video a week this year, I'll actually be producing better content. I'll be able to film a video a weekend and not feel overwhelmed like I need to film all of my month's videos in 1 week. So yes, I think it's just going to be more achievable, and it will give me more time to read and watch other booktube videos, because that's one of my other goals for this year, is to get more active in terms of commenting on people's videos and watching them, because that kind of fell off the past couple of years, primarily because I got a new job in 2016 and it expanded my commute from 15 minutes to almost an hour and a half one way. So my alarm goes off at 5:15 in the morning instead of like 6:15, and I don't get home. I used to get home at about 4:45, and now I get home around 6. So it really cut down on my time that I have during the day, which is why my booktube video watching fell off dramatically, because I was tired, because my day was longer, and you know, you get home and you want to eat and shower and read and spend time with family, and I don't really have that much time to watch videos on YouTube. But most of my time on the weekend was spent on social media, so if I cut back on that, I should have more time to watch and comment on booktube videos. One of my other goals is to read at least for 1 hour a day. I actually am using the Book Out app again this year. I discovered this last year and I love this app. Unfortunately, it's only for iOS users only right now. I don't know when they're going to be coming out with an Android app, but or if they will at all. I actually haven't researched this, so but unfortunately right now it's only iOS only. But basically you just, you know, put in the books that you're currently reading, and every time you sit down to read, you hit start, and then when you stop reading, you hit stop, and then you enter how many pages you read, and it keeps track of how long you've read and like how long it takes you to read a book and how long, you know, different time-related statistics. So I really enjoy this app, so I am using this one. I set like a monthly goal to read an hour a day, just, you know, 31 days in this month, so I put 31 hours. And then you can also keep a goal of like how many books you want to read in a year. So they have those goals as well. I don't really like Goodreads. I just keep it in order to keep track of the books I read in a year with a reading challenge. So I set it at like 1 book because I don't really care. I hate Goodreads. I hate it so much. I find that website and that app to be so cumbersome. I find it really difficult to navigate. I hate it, which is why I never leave reviews on there, because I hate the app so much. So that's the thing. But I definitely use Book Out app, and if you have an Apple device, I definitely recommend checking it out. I also want to keep the goal of reading 1 classic book a month this year, as I mentioned before, and I want to read again at least 6 nonfiction books again this year, but I would like to kind of bump that up to at least 7 to kind of beat my goal from last year. And then this is kind of like an arbitrary goal. YouTube is not at all about the numbers whatsoever, but if you're a content creator, it is kind of exciting to see your channel grow, and I'm hoping to hit 20K this year. I don't know if it will happen. My growth on my channel has kind of dropped off the past couple of years. My first 1.5 years on BookTube, I grew like really fast, and I think I hit like 10,000 in that first 1.5 years, and then after that it just like kind of tanked. I don't know, like last year, the beginning of the year, I was actually losing a lot of subscribers, and I don't really know why, but I mean, I don't really care that much, but it would be kind of fun to hit that number. I mean, it's very much like a non-issue if I don't hit it at all, but it's kind of like, it's something kind of like, you know, want to achieve. But I definitely am thankful for the people who do engage with me on my channel, because answering and seeing your guys' comments is always the funnest part of this YouTube experience. And then the other kind of challenge I have for myself this year is to film kind of like a monthly snapshot video. So throughout the month, I kind of want to just film like small little clips throughout my day, and then kind of put them all together in a video to music at the beginning of the next month, to kind of like see my month in review, kind of. That I don't really daily vlog because I have a hard time vlogging in public, so if I'm not having to talk and I can just kind of film like what I'm doing, or like just little snapshots, like I said, then I think that's definitely more doable. So that's kind of something I want to challenge myself to do this year, is to do one of those videos a month. So hopefully that will happen. Yes, we shall see. Alright, so that is basically it for all of my 2017 reading statistics and wrap up in my 2018 reading and channel goals. I would love to hear if you guys have any goals for yourself, what they are. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this video, just feel free to leave them down below as always. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!